Black Clover's movie is not only peak fiction, but it has revealed juicy bits of lore that we are all ready to feast on. And I invite every single one of you to dine. We have all pondered who were the past wizard kings and queens, ever since we found out Julius Novachrono was labeled as the 28th to receive the title. Tabata answered our questions by revealing not only one, but 4. Let's go! Their names are Conrad Leto, the 27th Wizard King, Princia Funnybunny, the 11th Wizard Queen, Jester the 16th, and Edward Avalaché the 20th. But just to make this video extra special, I am going to explain the entire history over the 500 years, which includes Lumiel, as he is the reason everything has happened in the first place, including this movie. This is because Lumiel, the first Wizard King, had created a special sword. It was the most powerful weapon in the Clover Kingdom and was passed down the line of Wizard Kings.
Now I just want to remind you all that sometimes it is important to just sit back and relax with a sniper rifle. In Mech Arena, that is. That's because it's a super fun free-to-play online game for both mobile and desktop. I'm gonna be honest, I'm a sucker for a tactical shooter that I can play with my friends, and Mech Arena is exactly that. Right now, the meta is built around sniping, and so if your friend has a terrible anime take, and you know they do, so challenge them to a custom game and settle it the old-fashioned way by sniping each other. After all, sniping requires the utmost of skill, and it's super satisfying when you do land a shot and destroy their mech. And as it's June, they're currently offering users the chance to earn some Pride themed skins for free, and then later their sci-fi event begins. This will be introducing new maps, the chain gun, Scorpius, and a new heavy duty pilot. Mech Arena is free to play on Android, iOS, and PC right now, and you can use our link or scan the QR code to get $30 worth of bonuses, including one skin, one Prodigy crate, and 5,000 credits. And if you're quick, you can even add me and let's get some dubs together.
Remember that the first Wizard King was someone that was fascinated by magic. In his backstory, we were told he loved to research magic and create tools that would help the kingdom and those less fortunate to deal with the prejudice the kingdom till this day suffers from. However, the other royals hated him for his gracious ways, and he paid no heed to their cruelty to others, even accepting Secret Swallowtail as his assistant when royals deemed her useless due to her magic type. Together, they created the most powerful magic tool called the Imperial Sword Elsdolcia. Its original purpose follows Lumiel's theme of wanting to make the world a better place, just as he attempted to with Licht. The weapon lends the previous Wizard King's power for the next generation. It's capable of absorbing, storing, and releasing magic power. It is stated that this sword has the potential to destroy an entire country and contains a piece of the past Wizard King's souls within it. In the movie, we learn it's the kingdom's most prized possession. However, Conrad gets his hands on it, and this is where his story begins. Now, those of you that watched the movie probably know the gist of it, but luckily for you, Tabata created a special novel for this movie that will let us go balls deep.
He said it! He said it!
But in return, can you hit the notification bell and like the video? Because I read that book just for you, and I plan to make more future Black Clover videos doing their power scaling. Essentially, Conrad was born into a noble family, but due to his unique magic of keys, it was perceived as a thief-like magic type, as it can steal others' magic, resulting in him being shunned by those around him, eventually snowballing into a lonely childhood. This is why in the movie, he has multiple parallels with Asta and tells him they are similar. However, as he grew older, Conrad discovered the true value of key magic. Suddenly, everyone in the kingdom discovered his clout, and they began to fear his power, resulting in the gap between him and those surrounding him growing even wider, as they never came to an understanding. Eventually, Conrad joined the Magic Knights, where he met a young Julius and a caring young woman from the Forsaken Realm. Her name was Lumiel, who eventually became his wife. I don't blame him, look at her. So, Remember, Julius was someone that is fascinated by unique types of magic. Case in point, Yami Sukihiro. However, he even scours for unique magic as an old woman, as that's how he first took notice of Asta. Julius's entire dream is to create a new generation of magic knights that follows his ideals of changing society for the better by removing prejudice. Therefore, Conrad learnt to trust these two, where he began to open up to those around him. Julius told Asta and Yuno that becoming Wizard King means convincing the people and earning merit. Basically, you have to have a bit of clout and then the dick riders come along, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, oh, my man has clout. But anyway, this is exactly what Conrad had done by gaining achievements together with his companions, and eventually became the Magic Knight captain of the squad named the White Serpents. His achievements were soon recognized by the public, thus being crowned as the 27th Wizard King. Everything was going great. He even married his vice captain Lumiel. However, one day, a mission he received for his squad was a trap set up by royals who despised him. As a result of this devastating event, his wife dying, all his friends perishing, and learning that he lived a lie helping a kingdom that was corrupt, he decided to take matters into his own hands, as all his feelings from childhood had returned, evolving into pure anger. Julius made attempts to persuade him, but that only elevated Conrad's darkness. Therefore, to eradicate discrimination, prejudice, and build a country where everyone can laugh together, which by the way is also Asta's dream once he becomes Wizard King, Conrad aimed to achieve his ideals after being given the position, but it failed. His dreams were crushed as he was unable to bring about change due to the politicians, kings, and royals always being in the way to stop the advancements of society. This is something we have seen throughout the story. After all, the royals are the ones that took Zagrad's deal and betrayed the elves. They have always hated anyone that tried to take over their control and power. However, Conrad decides that the only way to change this country is to truly rebuild it. The dangerous thoughts in his mind continued as he immersed himself in researching ancient magic tools. Eventually, he stole the national treasure, Imperial Sword, and started a rebellion, finally bringing us to the battle in the beginning of the movie. His plan was cut short as Julius and the other captains restrained Conrad. He initially no-diffed the captains and was extremely overpowered, but since time magic is busted and Lucius resides within Julius, Lucius was like, nah bruh, why my plan's gonna be executed, bitch? So time magic being OP, Julius had enough time to seal him away. However, following Julius's death to Patry, the spell that sealed him away had come undone, unleashing both him and the Imperial Sword back into the world. Knowing that he needed more manpower, he used his key magic along with the sword, which housed the past Wizard King's soul, where he used other people as sacrificial vessels to resurrect them. The three he chose were Wizard Kings and Queens who had their status stripped away, as they would understand his plight. Together, they planned to create a new world, but to do so, they first had to destroy the current one. Thus, they planned to use the power of the Imperial Sword to absorb all the magic from the people, as well as all the past Wizard Kings inside, unleashing it upon the planet, destroying it in the process. However, by storing the souls of the dead within the Imperial Sword, they shall cherry pick the ones worthy of living and resurrect them in the new world by using the bodies of the oppressed as sacrifices. Conrad explains that there are countless singular points where veins of mana connect, with the stadium being one of them. He reveals that 10 years prior, before the battle which saw him get sealed away, he altered the stadium and turned it into a weapon. The only way to stop Conrad was the use of a new magic tool being developed by Sakurai and the science team that controls the power of the Imperial Sword. But before Asta could retrieve it, Conrad had already broken into the underground base with his key magic, and then he stole it for himself, thus destroying it. By analyzing and subsequently stealing Marx's memory magic, he now knew everything about everyone and quickly made light work of the Black Bull's present, including stealing Noel's magic. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, every Magic Knight squad had been defeated, allowing Conrad and the former Wizard Kings to take complete control over the kingdom. Furthermore, all their power was being boosted by the Imperial Sword, making them limitless. Conrad then makes his way to Harge Village, where Lich's Demon Skull remains, as it is the perfect vein of mana to unleash complete annihilation upon the world. He invites Asta to become Wizard King in this new world. The two engage in a large battle, with Conrad absorbing many different types of magic, unlocking his Rainbow Super Saiyan form. It looked freaking lit. Asta eventually uses his anti-magic on Conrad's grimoire, returning the stolen magic to everyone, whilst also removing the Imperial Sword from the vein of mana, stopping the Clover Kingdom's annihilation and returning the past Wizard King's souls. This doesn't stop Conrad though. He activates a forbidden spell in exchange for his own life, which summons a massive meteor from out of space to flatten the kingdom. Asta, however, being accepted by past Wizard Kings within the Imperial Sword, uses it to unlock a brand new transformation, as the entire cast of characters acknowledge that he is the only one capable of taking Conrad out with anti-magic. Plus, there's the fact that their phrase of never giving up is my magic completely matching, so their ideologies clash as well. Asta inspires every single knight to look up to him and promises to save the kingdom, in which Conrad eventually believes in Asta when he is defeated. Even earlier in the movie, he tried to recruit him due to his anti-magic, believing it to be the one other magic type that can help his resolve to make the kingdom a better place. So after experiencing the big black sword for himself and losing to it, he acknowledges him. He realizes that Asta is the one person that can make his dream come true and save the world from the corrupt culture that has occurred for the past 500 years. He finally rests in peace as his soul joins the others. He tells Asta to become the Wizard King. This is also exactly what Julius Novachrono believes regarding Asta, bringing us to Conrad's successor, the 28th Wizard King, who is technically not from the Clover Kingdom. That's because his true identity is far more convoluted. Julius was born and raised in the Spade Kingdom as none other than the most gifted devil host in history of the Zogratis family. The reason for this was because he shared his body with Lucius, the fourth member of the Dark Triad. The pair wondered what made him so special. What was their purpose? After much thought, they turned their attention to none other than the Time Devil, one of the three supreme kings of hell, Asta. This gives them free reign over the flow of time itself, meaning they can rapidly age or de-age people. The same can be done to the effect of a spell or wound. Now, as you can imagine, you're also capable of completely freezing time in place within a designated area, but most importantly, the ability to look into the future of a plethora of alternative timelines. And so, they bound Asta and his power to themselves in an attempt to learn all the answers. However, what Lucius saw gave him inspiration. He believed he had witnessed the way to save the world and bring about true peace. But on the other hand, there was the problem of Julius attempting to stop him, and so Lucius buried Julius's soul away using his very own soul magic. Furthermore, he would maliciously manipulate his siblings into following his plan to recreate humanity by giving them all undying bodies. For his plan to take shape, however, he needed the King of Hell himself, Lucifero, in a weakened state. Thus, Lucius planned to use the Tree of Cliff-Off spell to let him loose into the world so that Asta could one day defeat him. To do this, however, he required two specific mages, one with World Tree magic and dark magic. And so, Lucius made his way to the Clover Kingdom by himself, as he'd seen the future and knew William and Yami would be here. Thus, he gave Julius control of his body as he calmly waited waited in the darkness for the right moment to enact his master plan. This is exactly what Andromeda confirmed according to what he stated in chapter 331. They wiped Julius's memory. Thus, he was integrated into a noble family with nowhere else to go. During his time in the Clover Kingdom, he began grinding to join Magic Knights and was accepted into the Grey Deer. Whilst on his journey, he learned about the severe amount of oppression that was strife within the kingdom, seeing how the rich and royalty would talk down to the poor for their lack of mana and wealth. So in spite of what those around him thought, Julius got close with the first peasant magic knight, Zara Idile. Despite being weak, he did everything to protect the civilians from danger, doing more than any royal had done. He believed Zara to be the only true magic knight. This inspired Julius to make a change, much like his Lucius counterpart, as he continued to climb the ranks of the magic knights until one day, and an unfortunate day, Zara was murdered by his own teammates. This was a wake-up call to Julius, who finally understood how the world worked. However, he didn't like it, and so to make his voice heard across the kingdom, he worked hard and achieved the merit needed to become the 28th Wizard King. Thus, he battled Conrad and overthrew him to achieve the title. This way, he could bring together the poor and the rich by abolishing the extreme classist views that plagued his home. Little did Julius know, however, everything he had been doing during his soul-searching mission in the Clover Kingdom was all to the benefit of his twin brother Lucius, who watched on from within Julius's body. Just take a look at the scene against Conrad. Did you notice that Lucius was the one that returns for a small fraction of time to help seal him away? Now, whilst in the Grey Deer, Julius encountered two magic knights that would change the course of Black Clover's story forever. After turning up in the Clover Kingdom from the Hino country, Julius met Yami Sukihiro and immediately became infatuated with his rare dark magic. The young boy was ridiculed for being foreign, yet Julius saw the talent he had and invited him to join the Magic Knights. The same happened with William, who Julius also invited to join the Knights despite his scarred face because of the immense World Tree magic. Much to Julius's horror, however, his trust in William was somewhat displaced, as the now Golden Dawn captain was hiding a terrible secret, one which Julius would soon become all too familiar with. He was sharing his body with Patry, a dead elf from 500 years ago, which brings us to the fated battle between Elf Host and Devil Host. Patry used Julius's love for his kingdom against him by holding it hostage. Nevertheless, Julius for the first time unveiled his coverless grimoire and unleashed a full-scale spell that rewinded Patry's light magic, saving the entire kingdom, however at the cost of his own life. Or so we thought. After the true culprit behind the elf massacre, Zagrid, was killed, Julius revealed that he had returned back to life by using 13 years of time he had stored up, which he stole from those he had killed. So in tandem with Sekiro Swallowtail's machine, which stores magic, it had compatibility with his time magic, which resulted in the 6-point star rune in his forehead. That's why he came back to life. We then move on to the narrow avoidance of the Clover Kingdom's complete annihilation at the hands of Conrad, as he entrusted Asta to save it. Julius only had 3 months until the next disaster struck. Much to Lucius's happiness, William survived the elf invasion, meaning Julius had grouped together the 2 arcane stage mages needed to let Lucifero out onto the world, and there was nothing he could do about it. This was but the first sign that Julius's final moments were rapidly approaching and a new age was on the horizon. Lucius was using his stored time magic without him even knowing. We know this for a fact, as Julius himself was shocked that his transformation was undone too fast against the ancient demon, and he didn't know what was going on. On the other hand, Asta cemented his merit in front of the Clover Kingdom, killing the devil for kill him using Devil Union for the first time. The good news wouldn't last for very long, as Lucifero's overwhelming pressure was unleashed across the globe. All Julius could do was sit back and wait until the King of Hell was defeated, or humanity would be wiped out. Luckily, it was the Prior, thanks to the efforts of Asta and his friends. Following the report that the invasion on the Spade Kingdom ended in success, Damnatio approached Julius, who revealed that Astaroth, the Time Devil, had secretly escaped Hell over 20 years ago. It's at that moment Julius's memories suddenly come flooding back to him, but before he could do anything about it, Lucius's soul gains control of the body and one-shots Damnatio with just a touch of a finger, turning him into a paladin by implanting the soul of a devil using his soul magic. Now, with just a single touch, Lucius can take complete control of another person's soul. This allows him to completely rewrite their brain to obey his ideology. Similarly, he can take the soul of a devil and implant it into a human to create the paladin, just as I explained, something he has done with Sister Lily too by giving her Beelzebub. All the pieces were now in place for Lucius to continue his goal of building true peace in the world by erasing those both weak and strong to rebuild them again with equal bodies. After consuming the heart of Lucifero, Lucius began his journey as the ultimate wizard king, as after him there will be no longer any need of any future kings or queens due to his immortality and righteous path. Well, that's according to him, of course, because we're going to talk about Asta later on in this video.
However, next up is the man who started it all, the royal prince Lumiel Silvavermillion. As prestigious a title as the Wizard King is, the way in which he earned it, from losing loved ones to killing his best friend, it's a tale I'm certain Lumiel wishes he never had to live through. One day 500 years ago, Lumiel's sister Tetia snuck out of the castle, getting caught in a rogue magical tornado. Luckily, two prodigal mages chosen by the Four-Leaf Grimoire, the elven tribe leader Lick, and the light magic master Lumiel jumped in to save her. The two clans had a heated history. The elves were blessed with an overwhelming amount of mana, making them incredibly powerful. Because of this, they often had to save humanity from disasters, causing them to be viewed as gods. However, their human cousins soon became afraid of what the elves were capable of. So in typical human fashion, rather than learn to cooperate, they sought out violence. Lick later went on to fall in love with Tetia, officially tying the knot together between the elves and humans. It was a historic day in the Clover Kingdom's history, but for all the wrong reasons. On their wedding day, Lumiel was given a personal assistant, none other than Secre Swallowtail. This was a match made in heaven because, much like the other Wizard Kings, Lumiel sought out an equal world. Despite that though, thanks to Secre, Lumiel created the Swallowtail machine to store up magic, the very same that Julius later used for his own revival. This machine has a dark history behind it, however, as Zagred used it to frame Lumiel and the humans for massacring the elf tribe. The devil had lured Lumiel away from his desk and trapped him in the castle whilst Zagred went on to begin the killing. Secre did manage to free the young prince, however the damage was already done. By the time they'd arrived, the elves had been slaughtered, with only Licht remaining, holding his dead fiancé in his arms. This tragic event flooded his heart with despair, turning his 4-leaf grimoire into a 5-leaf. Licht knew that Zagred planned to take advantage of his despair and hijack his body, thus he activated an ancient forbidden spell and asked Lumiel one final favour. The demon Licht had become threatened to annihilate the entire Clover Kingdom and put an end to all humanity, but luckily one man stood up to defend them. It was at that moment that Lumiel understood why he was blessed with immense magic. It was to stop his best friend from becoming a murderer. As expected, light magic is OP. It's one of the rarest magic types in the entire Clover Kingdom's history, and there's good reason for that. It allows you to generate and manipulate the light at will, which is of course light speed. Julius even said it's faster than his own time magic in chapter 36. After a back and forth between Lumiel and Licht, Secre arrived with a Swallowtail device to use it for its desired purpose of helping the people. Together they absorbed a large-scale attack from Demon Licht, although it was too much for the tool to handle and so it broke. However, this gave Licht a moment to regain his consciousness and momentarily stop the demon, allowing Lumiel to kill him. They couldn't however, stop Zagred from escaping to the future away from Lumiel and Secre so that he could one day begin his resurrection attempt again in a new era. Knowing that the devil threatened to harm the peaceful future the two had worked hard to achieve, along with the fact that Lumiel was mortally wounded, Secre used the magic stones to seal him away and preserve what remained of his life. This was the battle that made Lumiel a legend and the first Wizard King. 500 years later though, he had unfinished business. Finral, together with Secre, used the magic stones to resurrect him from the statue atop Licht's skull to finally put an end to this 5-century-long war with Zagred. The three headed straight to the battlefield where Lumiel met the reincarnated Licht. The two combined their magic to cast a protective aura of light to all magic knights, protecting them from Zagred's onslaught whilst Asta, Yuno and Yami slayed the devil. The burden on Lumiel's body began to show, however, as it cracked and crumbled. Proud to have witnessed the ideal future he worked hard to help build all those centuries ago be carried on by Asta and Yuno, he happily bid farewell, leaving it in their hands. Next on the list is Mummy. Princia Funnybunny was the eldest child of a noble family. They wanted to live in peace and govern their land in this way, but the selfish and greedy royals seized it all for themselves. Due to their constant harassment, Princia made it her goal to fight and defend both her family and people. Soon thereafter, she was recruited into the Blue Roses Magic Knight squad following the Grimoire acceptance ceremony where she was blessed with Legion magic. This allowed her to gain control of thousands of powerful soldiers that could even form together to create a huge mech. With this power, her fame grew day by day as she went on to be undefeated in battle her entire life. In order to strengthen their influence, the royal family made her the Wizard King. Princia became a mighty warrior who boasted some of the best fighting abilities of all the Wizard Kings in history, equaling the power of 1,000 soldiers, which caused people to fear her strength. During the war against the Diamond Kingdom, she played an integral role on the battlefield, leading her country to victory. However, as the war was coming to an end, Princia's family and people from her land were taken hostage by the enemy. Worried that she would leave the front lines to save those in which she loved, her team of generals withheld this information from her to ensure she would stay and secure the Clover Kingdom's victory, and thus she never got to see her loved ones again. After learning that it was kept secret from her, she exploded in a fit of rage towards everyone and was thus stripped of her title as Wizard King, jailed, and even had her magic sealed away. Then one day it all came to an end when the village she was imprisoned in was attacked. Despite now being magicless, she fought the bandits, sacrificing her life. Centuries later, she was given her chance at revenge towards the Clover Kingdom for taking away her loved ones from her. Conrad, using his key magic and imperial sword, resurrected Princia. She joined in the attack on the Clover Kingdom at the Magic Knights Festival, where the 4 Wizard Kings quickly took control. Her Legion magic soldiers marched through the kingdom, causing destruction along their path, all so that she could see her perfect world of zero oppression become a reality. At this point, her Legion magic was so devastating that it was equal to an entire country's military strength. She's later met face to face with Merileona as the two go head to head, where even using Mana Zone Gladius Brachium Purgatory, Princia stopped Siscolion with just one hand using her full form. This transformation resembled that of a queen chess piece, which is the most powerful piece on the board with only one on each team. However, only one queen could prevail. Siscolion, using her Hellfire Incarnate spell for the first time, pushes Princia into a corner where, after enjoying the fun of their battle, her soul eventually is forced to return back to the afterlife. Next we have Jester Garandros, the Mad King. Jester was raised in a privileged environment thanks to his noble family, and due to this had an exceptional amount of talent for magic, eventually becoming a member of the Magic Knights. There he befriended Tenor, who had travelled from a lonely village located close to the Diamond Kingdom, as well as Raid, who had travelled from the Common Realm. Strangely, the three of them got along quite well, encouraging one another to learn and grow together, despite the fact that they came from various backgrounds and had distinct social statuses. After some time, Jester was finally appointed as a Magic Knight captain, where not too long after, Tenor's village would be invaded by the Diamond Kingdom. Sadly, the Clover was not permitted to intervene in protecting the remote village, as if they officially sent out their forces, the Diamond Kingdom would have viewed it as an act of war. And so, to avoid all that, Jester and his friends set out on their own to defeat the enemy's invasion. Unfortunately, however, in order to protect his home, Tenor would lose his life in this battle. The loss of his friend pushed Jester to become the Wizard King so that he could prevent anything from like this happening again. After achieving great success as a captain, he was finally appointed as the 16th Wizard King. However, as soon as things seemed to look bright for Jester, his whole world would turn upside down. Tenor's home village was once again invaded by the enemy. Now, as the Wizard King, Jester would finally be able to stop the oppression of his dead friend's people. But as soon as he rushed in to rescue, Jester learnt that the attack was a trap set up by none other than his own friend Raid. That's right, all along Raid was a spy who had orders to assassinate Jester. This betrayal cut deep. Deeper than any blade, and after surviving he had lost both Tenor and Raid, who were his best friends. Jester realised that all of this was because of the current dynamic of the world system, and that opposing kingdoms with different ideologies would always lead to war. And so, in order to prevent future tragedies, Jester came up with a solution: the conquest of the 4 kingdoms. Initially, this ambition labelled Jester as the Mad King, but he gradually started to gain the support of people. Yes, he wanted to conquer his neighbouring kingdoms, but in doing so Jester would be unifying the region, making the people under one banner and rule. All of those who had been affected and lost their loved ones due to the territorial disputes understood the benefit of Jester's goals, especially the villagers who were often ignored. However, his growing influence started to become a thorn of the royal faction, and so they gathered together and set a trap to get rid of the Wizard King. I mean, is this shocking at this point? Are you guys not beginning to see a pattern here? The royals are the real enemy, and everything is a trap set by them so that they get their way. Due to this, Jester would lose his life, all in the ambition to achieve a just world. Many decades later, Jester was brought back with the help of Conrad's key magic and the Imperial Sword. Due to having similar goals, Jester decided to aid Conrad in his plans to destroy the Clover Kingdom and then bring it back with only those they deemed worthy. Out of all the Wizard Kings who were brought back, Jester by far showcased a superior level of strength over the others. This is highlighted with his barrier magic completely dominating everyone. With this magic, Jester is not only able to block out pretty much any attacks, but can also create very durable objects, including weapons. Due to having an immense amount of magic power, he can juice these barriers to an unspeakable degree. With this, Jester was able to fortify Conrad in his voodoo Shangri-La dome so that he could prepare the destruction of the kingdom in peace. Even Asta's big black sword couldn't penetrate it that easily. But with the power of friendship, Asta and Yuno were able to slice through Jester's dome. This feat showcased Jester's personality of a battle-driven knight, as he complemented them with the desire to see what else they could do. On top of this, Jester's proficiency is also aided with his master's swordsmanship. During his role to protect Conrad and the Imperial Sword, Jester was able to hold down not only Yuno, but our Chad Yami along with the other 2 captains Nazel and Forgelion. After activating his trump card, the captains had to use a combo spell along with Yuno giving his best using Spirit Dive to do any damage. But that too wasn't enough to game end him. Instead, Jester revealed that he wasn't even at full power, and so he releases the dome to regain all his strength. Luckily for Yuno, Yami and the other 2 captains, however, Conrad was defeated by Asta just in the nick of time before Jester could show us what he was truly about, eventually passing on with Conrad and being truly happy that the next generation were powerful enough to take him on.
Next we have Edward Avalaché, the 20th Wizard King. Unlike the others, Edward, though talented with a promising future, had no interest in chasing a career. In fact, from a young age, he had spent most of his time in the church, listening to sermons. This is where Edward was exposed to the reality and hardship of those without magic powers. So, to make a difference in the world, he decided to leave his home and become a priest to look after orphan children. Edward was adored and even relied upon by the people of the Clover Kingdom. Through his good works, he believed he was changing the lives of the weak and feeble by instilling his values in them. However, by now, everyone should know that nothing good ever lasts. And so, 10 years later, the Clover Kingdom would undergo an intensifying war. With obviously, yeah, come on, it's always the damn Diamond Kingdom. This moment would change Edward's life forever. With his orphanage caught in the midst of the war, not only was it raided, but the kids he had adopted lost their lives. This enraged Edward, where for the first time ever, he used magic with all his might to destroy the enemy. After witnessing his own powerlessness and the loss of his children, Edward was determined to become stronger, and so he joined the Magic Knights in order to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. Edward's generosity and love from the weak had significantly grown his popularity, where he eventually became the Wizard King. With his newfound role, Edward wanted to eliminate the barriers between the royal, common and forsaken realms. However, as typical,
battle, this goal had stricken the nerves of the royals. These so-called nobles schemed against Edward, where unfortunately he was stripped from his Wizard King position. This betrayal had hurt him pretty bad, to the point where he even abandoned his faith in God. Edward, filled with rage, created a resistance to exact revenge on the royals and nobles who plotted against him. He persisted in eliminating individuals in position of authority, believing that it was the only way to save their warped hearts from their greed of power. And he wasn't wrong. However, this did not last long, as he was soon apprehended and executed. But like the others, part of his soul had already accumulated in the Imperial Sword, where many years later he was brought back by Conrad to join him in his cause. In fact, during the final battle where he faced the Black Bulls, Edward showcased how powerful his ice magic was, freezing everything in its path, even molten hot lava. In spite of this, Edward liked the Black Bulls. Seriously, he even said he would spare their lives due to their pure hearts, telling them to flee the country and keep safe. So he wasn't entirely a bad guy, even though he did want to destroy and kill everybody in the kingdom. But listen, the Black Bulls couldn't abandon the kingdom whilst it and everyone in it would be destroyed, so they fought back. It's here that Edward unleashes his super OP monozone, which lowered the temperature of the entire area below zero. But after Noelle received her magic back from Conrad, she used the most powerful spell in her grimoire, the power of friendship, and talk no jutsu. Upon realizing that even a royal like Noelle could understand the concept of true equality, Edward happily returned to the afterlife, knowing that if someone like her exists, then there's still hope for the world. Which now brings us onto the GOAT. He may not be the Wizard King by title yet, but Asta has earned more merit than anyone to be worthy enough of being included in this video. However, life wasn't always so kind to him. Asta was birthed into this world by Lichta, a woman whose body was so good it literally sucked the life force out of you. Because of this, he was born manaless, which meant straight from the get-go, Asta was dealt with a card that made him borderline useless in the world of Black Clover. In spite of that, he demonstrated his never give up attitude, which is prevalent in all Wizard Kings. Nonetheless, as Asta grows older with the church, we first see his Wizard King Riz come online when he overhears the locals envious of the people who resided in the noble realm. On this day, Asta, like many of the Wizard Kings before him, discovers the prejudice experienced by the citizens of the Forsaken Realm and declares his goal to become the Wizard King for the first time. This was one of Asta's most prevalent features, saving those in need from people who use their power to bully others. We saw this as early as chapter 1, where Asta, just as a child, risked his body to protect Yuno from a thief, which later parallels Asta saving Yuno from Rivachi, even in the face of somebody leagues ahead of him. Asta refused to back down so that his family would be safe. However, it's this attitude that made him stand out above the rest, as he was blessed with a 5-leaf grimoire, which belonged to none other than Lisht. Despite not having any knowledge of this, 16 years ago, his mother had found this very book and kept it safe. She had to leave Asta at the church as she was afraid he would die otherwise. Eventually, she met the devil Libe, who ended up becoming Asta's foster brother. After giving up Asta, his mother had adopted Libe as she was isolated for her magic by society. In her extreme loneliness, she looked after the devil and created a special bond. Libe, similar to Asta, had never felt love or respect in hell due to having no magic. Sadly, in the attempts to protect her adopted son, Lichta died to Lucifero. However, Lichta was able to save Libe by sealing him within the sword magic grimoire with the use of her magic, in which he wished for revenge for 15 years within it. He eventually was granted anti-magic that could achieve this dream. By plan or destiny, Asta ended up with this grimoire, and gaining this power opened up an entirely new level for Asta to explore before in the world. He finally had a chance to achieve his dream of becoming the Wizard King, and that's exactly what he did. If you guys want a full video explaining every moment Asta proved he was the ultimate Wizard King, share your mana with me by smashing the like button and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss out. But if it wasn't clear enough, what we can tell so far is that every Wizard King has suffered from the system and is trying to change it. And Asta is no different, as he shared his vision for what he wants for the Clover Kingdom back when they infiltrated the Eye of the Midnight Sun's headquarters. Asta even proved why he was different from the other Wizard Kings in this movie by replying with one simple word: why? Why? Asta wants to create a free country where everyone can appreciate each other, joke and laugh together. One where there is unity with all races, much like Conrad, who also wants this. However, rather than resorting to genocide to create his own world, Asta seeks to understand everyone, as we are all fundamentally the same. No matter the challenges Asta has faced throughout his life and any near-death experiences he might have had, it doesn't change his thinking or resolve to act on his belief, which means as a Wizard King, he can face absolutely anything to achieve victory. This is what is needed in a Wizard King, because a leader is someone that others follow, commanding respect, rather than the other way around, which is exactly what is happening in this movie. Conrad even acknowledged Asta and planned to crown him as Wizard King with Julius. Knowing Asta was the only hope the kingdom had left, he ended up handing him the Imperial Sword and entrusted the future of the kingdom to him, where he was further accepted by the past Wizard Kings. Later in the manga, Lucius claims that Asta is the flaw in this world that must be removed to fix it. However, like the Witch Queen said, not being special is exactly what makes him special. Asta is not the virus Lucius believes he is, rather he is the cure. We saw this in the Hino country, where Asta was even likened to Ryu, the magicless shogun who helped shape a peaceful land where classist views did not exist. It wasn't perfect though, as it was a heavily xenophobic country. Nonetheless, that all changed after Asta landed there and split the clouds, cementing his position as a living legend there amongst the people. Even Ryu and Yosuga claimed that Asta will become the Wizard King. This is why he scales to planetary level. And remember, this is Asta in the movies, who hasn't even mastered Devil Union. So if you want to see just how busted he will become, then you have to watch this video on screen right now, as we prove he can blow up planets and go faster than the speed of light 2,000 times over.